I want to thank our music team and Debbie Barnett for reading today. We're already on week 6 of our 12-week series on Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's a book by Rick Fields. And don't fret if you've missed any of the previous ones. Each week truly is independent. And if you want to catch the ones that you've missed, they're out on our website at cslsoutheastla.org. And today we're going to talk about something we all depend on having in our lives, and that's money. I'm happy that you've joined us as we continue this journey to enlightenment, looking at how each of us chop wood and carry water with our money and in our finances. And today we'll be discussing how you might see money as energy, not to be accumulated and stored, rather to be circulated and used for the higher good of yourself and for others. Imagine the ease of life if we remember there's truly only one life and we embrace the words of Raymond Charles Barker, money is God in action. But first, your question of the week. What is the one choice that you can make today to see money as energy, to practice abundance consciousness, and to circulate your good? One more time. What is the one choice that you can make today to see money as energy, to practice abundance consciousness, and to circulate your good? So what does it mean that money is God in action? Have you ever noticed that life is in a constant flow? The cells in our bodies are constantly slogging off and new ones are growing. The seasons show us the flow of life. And economically, circulation is what creates healthy finances. If a business never reinvested any of the monies that came in, that business wouldn't last very long. Flow is what creates the potential for growth and expansion. And so it makes sense that financial circulation is necessary in our own spiritual bank accounts, in our physical bank accounts, in our wallets, and especially in our attitude towards money. Have you ever truly thought about what your relationship is with money? In the reading, you heard how money is like mother's milk. And I think that's a great analogy because if you think about it, when the baby needs nourishment, it drinks the mother's milk. And later, when it needs to be nourished again, more milk is available. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could each embrace that knowledge about abundance in our life? Fields talks about money as energy, not as a thing, but a transaction that passes between us, something that's transferred and exchanged. We all use energy to heat and cool our homes. We use it to cook, to wash our clothes, to heat up our water so that we can have warm showers. And yet we don't go around trying to store up that energy for tomorrow. We use it when we need it. And yes, I have to admit it's difficult when electricity goes out. But having energy stored up wouldn't help us if there's no way for it to flow through our homes. And money is like that. We use it to get the things we need. And yet we try to store it up, sometimes forgetting to allow it to circulate and to flow through us for our own good as well as the good of others. Money, like energy, does us no good unless we use it. And yes, it's important to be fiscally responsible, and part of that is creating savings for future needs. And when money is tight, like having no electricity, it can seem very unpleasant, maybe even annoying and quite uncomfortable. In The Power of Prosperous Thinking, Jack and Lois Johnstead wrote this: "Save and invest as though you would live forever. Share and spend as though you would die tomorrow. Now that's the kind of relationship I want to have with my energy and with money. There's that old saying about love not being love unless you give it away. And I think the energy of money is similar. Money truly is God in action, showing us our abundance, teaching us the law of circulation. We use the term miser or spendthrift as an observation about a person's relationship with money and sometimes to the world. Field even goes as far as this. In many ways, our relationship to money is an accurate mirror of our spiritual development. I know that I want to see money in circulation, using it for the greater good. And I love the observation of Henry David Thoreau. Superfluous wealth can buy superfluities only. Money is not required to buy one necessity of the soul. When you think about that, it's so true. We can't buy joy, we can't buy contentment, or safety, or love, or that feeling of peace and calm. Have we not at some point in our lives all watched happy people who had very little money, or who live in countries with a lot less materialism than we have in the U.S.? I think we have. We've all probably heard that prayer that begins, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." If we embrace those words, we'd also embrace abundance consciousness. It doesn't say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I have to struggle every day to make ends meet," or "I have to feel like a victim of my financial circumstances," or that the Lord is some people's shepherd. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Think about that. Imagine if we went through our days believing and practicing that we shall not want, knowing that God is our source. I grew up not paying much attention to money until my father died, and all of a sudden our financial circumstances and our family changed drastically. I learned to say no to my friends when they would invite me to the movies, even though back then it was probably only 25 or 50 cents. We just didn't have any extra income in the house. And yet, deep within me, I always knew that I would be fine, that we were indeed abundant. I had shelter, clothing, and most importantly, I had a family in which I knew I was loved. My life was full of abundance that had nothing to do with money. And I admit that there is still a few leftover habits that I have from that time in my life. Most of my friends would tell you I don't eat margarine, because we ate margarine back then because butter was so much more expensive. And I noticed that my daughter always has a bowl of fresh fruit on her table, which I know is from times at the end of the month when I was a single parent and I couldn't afford to buy fresh fruit for her. So I'm sure that we all have some little quirks that we picked up during those times when we forgot, "I shall not want," and we felt lack in some way. We don't have to stay in that mentality. I have to say that even though the lows of that roller coaster ride, I always had those things that were more important than what we might call the necessities of life. I had love and support, friends and family, and abundance in areas that mattered. I can hear some of you thinking right now, yeah, well, when no money is coming in and money is tight, those things don't pay the rent or buy food. So that's true. And what if right here and now we made a decision to embrace abundance consciousness and begin to truly believe what our opening song was all about? God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. And I love that the song goes on to say, "I give thanks for all my blessings." because I truly believe it's in recognizing the blessings, in loving what we have, that our true happiness lies, and that true abundance consciousness is born. Paul Hawken wrote this: always leave enough time in your life to do something that makes you happy, satisfied, or even joyous. That has more of an effect on economic well-being than any other single factor. Haven't you noticed that when you're doing something that makes you happy, that the rest of the world seems to be just a little lighter? And doing things that bring joy don't have to cost a lot. When I didn't have money, I would take my kids to the beach and we would walk along the beach, feed the birds leftover bread. They loved it, and it was a very low expense, along with lots of laughter and lots of love. And if you're a money worrier, I'd like to remind you that what you think about, you bring about. So rather than worrying about money, which just brings about lack, what if you decided to be grateful for all the money you do have in your life, whether it be from sources like food stamps or gifts from friends, a car or a house that's already paid for, a landlord who allows you to pay the rent late because he understands your circumstances. All of those point to abundance at some level. I have this phrase that I'd love to use when I'm feeling less than abundant for whatever reason, and it's this: money is coming to me in unexpected ways from unexpected places. And I noticed when I would say it, it was true. Even small amounts would show up in the mail or in a coat pocket or some extra class that I was able to teach so I could bring in a little bit more money when I was a single parent. And I still don't walk by change that's on the ground without picking it up, because I see it as God circulating. And if I happen to lose money somewhere, I try my best to remind myself that whoever finds it needed it more than I did. Again, circulation and abundance consciousness. Raymond Charles Barker, in his book, Money is God in Action, wrote this: anything we love increases, and anything we criticize moves out of our lives. The first step toward abundance is to love money. Why? Because it is the means which God is using at the present instant to maintain a circulation in your world of economics. Now, you might think to tell us to love money is in opposition to that statement in the Bible: the love of money is the root of all evil. But Barker was not talking about greed or loving money solely for one's own pleasure. Barker is talking about the law of circulation. In a small Italian town hundreds of years ago, a small business owner owned a loan shark a large amount of money. The loan shark was very old and unattractive, and yet he fancied the business owner's daughter. So he decided to offer the businessman a deal that would completely wipe out the debt. However, the catch was he would only wipe out the debt if he could marry the business owner's daughter. Needless to say, this proposal was met with a lot of disgust. So the loan shark finally made a deal. He said, okay, I'll put 2 pebbles into a bag, one white and one black, and the darter will reach into the bag and pick out a pebble. If the pebble is black, the debt will be wiped out, but the loan shark would then be able to marry the daughter. And if it was white, the debt would be wiped out, but the daughter wouldn't have to marry the loan shark. So they were standing on the pebble-strewn path in the businessman's garden, and the loan shark bent over to pick up 2 pebbles. Well, while the businessman wasn't looking, he actually picked up 2 black pebbles, and he placed them in the bag. He then asked the daughter to reach into the bag and pull out a pebble. The daughter realized she probably had three choices. She could refuse to pick a pebble from the bag. She could take both pebbles out of the bag and expose the loan shark, or she could pick a pebble from the bag knowing full well that it was black and she would have to sacrifice herself for her dad's debt. Well, all of a sudden she decided she picked a pebble out of the bag, but before anybody could see it, she accidentally dropped it back into the pebble-strewn path. The loan shark is watching, and she says, "Oh, how clumsy of me. Never mind, if you look in the bag, you will see the pebble that's left, and then we'll know which one was the one I dropped." Well, the pebble left in the bag was obviously black, meaning the white one would have been the one she had picked. And the loan shark didn't want to actually be exposed, so he played along as if the pebble the daughter had dropped was white. And the father's debt was released, and the daughter didn't have to marry the loan shark. It's always possible to come up in a tough situation to think outside of the box. So when you think that you only have some options, start thinking outside of the box. I think that sometimes when it comes to our finances, we get locked into thinking of things in a certain way, and we find it difficult to think outside of the box or outside of what seems to be our current choices. The daughter in the story found a new way to handle her situation. So if you're experiencing money challenges, perhaps it's time to think outside of the box. In the Basic Ideas of Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote this: "Sit quietly by yourself and know that as God's child, your wisdom is unlimited. Believingly, know that universal spirit, all wisdom, is now making known to you everything you need to know in order to make right decisions, correct choices, proper plans." Know that you can make right decisions, correct choices, and proper plans related to any area of your life, including money, because within you, you have the wisdom to do so. One of my favorite ministerial teachers was Reverend Alice Bandy. She's no longer with us on the planet. She was an amazing teacher, and she truly taught me to know who I was through many a heart-wrenching exercise and class assignment. She also wrote a fabulous book called The Wisdom of Money. I did a series on it several years back, and I plan to repeat that series later in this year because it teaches us how money truly is a reflection of many aspects of our lives. And today, as we concentrate on money, I'd like to quote her: "The most important task of my life is to know myself. By knowing myself, I am able to align with my own truth and live the life I came here to live." So you might be asking, what does that have to do with money? According to Reverend Alice, everything. How can we live abundantly if we truly don't know what makes us feel abundant? If we don't know what brings us joy or what brings us peace and calm in our daily lives, how can we have abundance consciousness? And how can we circulate our good? Michael Phillips, who was instrumental in developing the MasterCard, wrote a book in the early 70s called The 7 Laws of Money, because he realized he was spending his life doing things rather than being content and joyful. We can all get hung up on the doing part of our lives and sometimes forget to just be. In his chapter on money, Rick Fields summarizes those 7 laws, and I want to quickly look at them because I think they're the essence of how we might become better at circulating our good. Law number 1, do it. The money will come when you're doing the right thing. When you put energy into doing something you love and that you're competent at, you don't have to worry about the money. It's going to show up. Law number 2, money has its own rules. This is about knowing what happens to your money, being fiscally responsible, no squandering, and no being a spendthrift. Law number 3, money is a dream. For many, money is a state of mind, and setting our sights on having a certain amount of money is going to change who we are. If we know that money is energy, we won't fall into the illusion that it's going to bring happiness. Law number 4, money is a nightmare. Did you know that 80% of the people in jails are there because basically they didn't have any idea how to handle money? Think about it. Robbers, thieves. Would that be necessary if they had a good relationship with money? Law number 5, you can never give away money. I can hear you saying right now, you just told us we have to circulate it. True, and when you circulate it, it comes back to you many times multiplied abundantly. There's a two-way flow. Law number 6, you can never receive money as a gift. It's rare that a gift of money is given out without some types of strings, without the giver expecting something in return. Hey, even now when I send my grandkids money, they know that I expect them to text me back to let me know that they got it. I don't tell them what to do with it or how to use it, but I do want them to acknowledge the gift. So there's a string attached. Law number 7, there are worlds without money. Think about the world of art, of poetry, of music, of dance. I love the analogy that a world without money is like a star. You know you can't own it, nor can you reach it, and yet it can guide you along your way. The same way that proper use of money can guide us in our lives. So that was a quick summary of the 7 laws. And as always, Fields' chapter on money is quite practical. For instance, he states, if we don't have enough money, there are 2 things we can do. We can increase our income or simplify our life, or both. Finally, I would be remiss in talking about money if I neglected to bring up what Fields calls conscious giving. While you might not tithe, which is giving 10% of your wealth to something larger than you are, some organization which brings about a better world for everybody, it's important for us to give thanks through sharing our own good. So circulate your time, your talents, your treasures, and watch the law of circulation in action, bringing it back to you multiplied. I know that conscious giving for me is a joy, not an obligation. And it's that very fact that has me living such an abundant life every day. Abundant in love, abundant in peace, in joy, and in my finances. I want to end with one of my favorite quotes of Reverend Alice Bandy. True spiritual gratitude knows that our life is good at its essence, its core. We know that because of this, whatever is coming next is also good and for our highest benefit. And so, we are grateful before it even gets here. So I invite you to set your sights on levels of happiness and freedom that have nothing to do with the amount of money in your bank account, which we all know fluctuates. Start believing that money is a spiritual concept, and you always have that form of spirituality. If money is God in action and there is a flow to life, then accept there is a flow in your finances that is always for your highest good. Believe you shall not want. So in summary, decide what it is you want your relationship with money to be. And remember, money is energy. It's God in action. Money is not required to buy one necessity of the soul. So take some time to enjoy life and practice abundance consciousness. The Lord is your shepherd. You shall not want. Money comes to you in unexpected ways from unexpected places. Pay attention to that and circulate your good. Remember the 7 laws of money and live with conscious giving being a joy, not an obligation. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is that I so easily and willingly make the choice today to see money as energy, to practice abundance consciousness, and to circulate my good. And your challenge for the week? Make a conscious choice this week to notice your relationship with money and notice how it comes to you in unexpected ways from unexpected places. Remember what Raymond Charles Barker says, money is God in action. Let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath and we just know the wisdom of the divine, the abundance of God. We know that the higher being, that guide of ours that is all-knowing and loving and free and peaceful and calm. And all of that as individual expressions of the divine is right where we are. And what I know for us this week is that each of us is living in that place of abundance consciousness. We're practicing that the Lord is our shepherd, that we shall not want. We are practicing that ability to notice how things come to us in unexpected ways from unexpected places. How gifts are showing up in our lives that are allowing us to live lives that are fully abundant. So I am grateful. I'm grateful for my own abundance. I'm grateful for the abundance of this community, the abundance of love and joy and peace that shows up as a family here. And it's from all that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth that God has already called it done, that the law always says yes. So I can just let it be, call it good, say amen, and we affirm it together, and so it is.